Welcome, listeners, to today's episode of the Black Business Roundtable. I am fired up and ready to talk. I am your host, Doug Blacksher, broadcasting to you live from the city of diversity, Oakland, California. I am excited to be back as we head into our fall-autumn season. Although here in California, a heat wave is upon us and heading into the Labor Day weekend. So be safe. Returning next week is my ride or die, the one and the only Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology and our mental health expert. Dr. Eric Kelly III of the Black Business Expo Olympics has been awarded the esteemed Lifetime Achievement Award by the Office of the President of the United States of America. And congratulations, Dr. Eric Kelly. And if you all may recall, I won a gold medal on the Black Business Olympics approximately 3 months ago in May. So I am honored to be working with such an esteemed man who has done an outstanding job in representing businesses, not just here in America, but all across the globe. I'm truly blessed, truly blessed. This week, Black Business Roundtable, thumbs up goes to Senator Nancy Skinner and her district director, Audrey Momo, and thank you, ACDCC Igor Tregubu, chair of the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee. And I compliment Senator Nancy Skinner, state senator of California, because when people have a problem, she and her staff addresses it without having delays or a bad attitude. And that's rare coming from our elected officials. We have elected officials who, whether they don't hold their staffs accountable or they just been in office too long, they don't represent the people and their staff. And once again, I want to reiterate, the staffs of some of these elected officials are unprofessional, uncourteous, do not address the needs of their constituents, of the elected person that they're working for, and it's shameful. Shame. And as I'm pointing out the good things about Senator Nancy Skinner and her district director, Audrey Momo, I'll be soon pointing out the bad characters, which include council members, which include mayors, and I've already started with the mayor of Oakland, which includes Alameda board supervisors who have staff that at best need to be unemployed and at worst need to be homeless. And that's sad, I have to say something like that. When you're representing elected officials, staff people, you need to be courteous, professional, and follow up. We don't have that in many staff of some of these elected officials. And I will be pointing that out very soon. Also, Igor Tregubu. He is chair of the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee, and I have talked to him about several issues, and he had addressed them quickly and efficiently and did not put me off when I gave him a compliment. And that's why I'm giving him a compliment, because you don't have that from many elected officials and people who serve on the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee, on the California Democratic Party, and of the National Democratic Party. So congratulations to those. Also, Pamela Price, as a executive member of her campaign now, I am humble and proud to go out there and make sure that we get her elected and get justice as well as compassion while executing her duties as she is going to be the new district attorney of Alameda County. Endorsements of Janani Ramachandran. I've endorsed Janani Ramachandran, who is a friend of the show, because of her hard work and dedication. Also, Rebecca Kaplan, running for Alameda County Board of Supervisors. And once again, Janani Ramachandran, she's running for City Council member of District 4. And she is fired up and ready to hit the ground running, as is Rebecca Kaplan. This week's Black Business Roundtable thumbs down goes to Alameda County Board of Supervisors and what they are not doing. Alameda County Board of Supervisors are not being fair in the distribution of federal tax dollars that are supposed to help all qualified constituents and small businesses, and not just a few. Alameda County Housing Secure Emergency Rent Assistance Program, or Alameda County Housing Secure ERAP. They have people who have been waiting close to a year or more to get funds that are supposed to be designed to help out in an emergency. And 30 days, 60 at the most, that would qualify as a fair amount of time to be an emergency. But when you get to 9 months and a year, it's shameful. We need to fix that. Alameda County Board of Supervisors, who is handling the Housing Secure Emergency Rent Assistance Program, ERAP. Today's show highlights the continuation of last week's August 25th, 2022 show and the Oakland, California mayor's race and candidates being taken out of the race and off the ballot without merit. And that was August 25th, 2022. And the show link, you can check it out on YouTube, because it was amazing. It was amazing how Allyssa Victory articulated what happened to her. Today, we have part 2 of the mayor's race and the about turn and all the foolery, and that's right, foolery, that was reversed and set right with candidates edged out but now reinstated. So get ready for this exclusive on the Black Business Roundtable, and you'll hear Allyssa Victory's story first, complete story first here on the Black Business Roundtable on blackusa.news. Now, for the national politics highlights. Sarah Palin. You remember her. She was running for vice president with the other guy, and I won't even mention his name. A Republican of Alaska lost to Democratic Mary Peltola in a special election, winning Alaska's only House seat. Congratulations, Mary Peltola. I'm going to tell you something. This country is falling apart because we do not vote. And this is the main reason why you should vote, because if Mary can beat Sarah Palin in Alaska, that means people got out to vote. Represent your city, county, and state by voting. No matter where you live, congratulations to Georgia candidate Marcus Flowers, a friend of the show, running for Congress to unseat Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's making a spectacle down there in Georgia. Senator Raphael Warnock running for Senate to be reseated, and we must make sure we write, or send a note on a pigeon to people who you know in Atlanta and tell them they must vote for Senator Raphael Warnock. Stacey Abrams running for governor of Georgia, and also to Florida candidate Val Deming for being in the running for their respective races. Locally, the winners are Pamela Price, received 43% of the vote, and Terry Wiley received 27% of the votes here in Alameda County on the first runoff. And congratulations to Yacina Sanchez for beating out Gregory Ahern, who has run this county like his own empire. Gregory Ahern, ex-sheriff, I hope you made enough money, because now you have plenty of time to go spend it. And we have a new sheriff in town, and once again, her name is Yacina Sanchez. Congratulations, Yacina Sanchez. Women are stepping up and making it happen and continuing to move us forward. Give the gift of paying it forward and register to vote and help your community this year and into the future. Now, for the news of today. On this day, September 1st, 1884, San Francisco public schools deny admission to Chinese American children. Shameful, shameful. Courtesy of Equal Justice Initiative, EJI. For more information and to read the full story of this day in our Black and Brown history, visit their Legacy Museum established in 2018. That's Equal Justice Initiative. I would like to welcome back Allyssa Victory, Esquire, and her Part 2 exclusive regarding her continuation of the Oakland, California mayoral race that removed candidates at the 11th hour illegally. Yes, audience, in Oakland, California, we have candidates who are running for mayor who've met all the qualifications that our city is removing them and making up reasons to get them out of the race and off the ballot. Shameful, Oakland. Shameful, Oakland, California. Unbelievable. She fought to get not only herself, but other candidates that were illegally, yes, illegally removed back into the race as well. Now, that is some sweet tea helping other candidates, not just herself, which shows me true leadership qualities. Congratulations, Allyssa Victory, and keep up the good work and run a good race. Now, there are other candidates who are running for mayor, and I've asked them to come on to the show. Have not heard back from them. But if they don't speak up for themselves, I'll do some research and inform my audience on who is and is not doing what in the city of Oakland to earn that elected position as mayor of Oakland, California. Now, I'd like to give the bio for this young lady who fought not only for herself, but for other candidates who were illegally removed from the ballot to run for mayor. Allyssa currently works as a criminal justice attorney with the American Civil Liberties Union of Northern California and is legal counsel to Communication Workers of America, Local 9415. This is a union member and elected bargaining committee member with IFPTE Science and Engineers Local 20. Allyssa maintains her commitment to serving the most vulnerable through her daily work as well as through her immeasurable volunteerism and community organizations. Allyssa is an alumni of Emerge California's 2022 candidate training cohort. In 2021, Allyssa was elected by the public as an Alameda Democrat elected member. Alameda Democratic elected member. Delegate to the California Democratic Party to represent Assembly District 18, which includes Oakland, Alameda, and Emeryville. Allyssa currently resides in District 2 in the city of Oakland, California, with her husband and her dogs. Let me be clear here. We have a sister here who has fought diligently to increase the number of opportunities for both, and I say number, increase opportunities for her neighbors, for her community, for the city of Oakland, and for the county of Alameda. I want to further that by talking a little bit about Allyssa Victory. And before she comes on, we have candidates who are running who think about nothing but themselves. They enjoy getting elected, but they fall short of representing all the constituents in their district, in the city, and in the state. And you hear me so often say how bad some of the politicians have done in representing the constituents that they were elected to serve. And I was honored today to give a few elected officials, chair of these parties, their earned credit. Because at the end of the day, you are elected. Politician, you are elected to serve people. You are elected to serve people who you go to their neighborhoods. You are elected to serve people who you go to their communities. You show up at the churches. You show up at these businesses, and you always want our votes. Yes. But when it comes time to do your jobs, you either don't do it, can't do it, or incapable or incompetent. And it's shameful. People out here are hurting, whether it be from lack of economics, lack of housing. In Oakland, California, and I'm going to cite this because this is critical. Oakland, California has been noted to be one of the worst places, and not just the United States, but the world, regarding the homeless population. And after doing some great research, it's not all Oakland elected officials' fault. Alameda County Board of Supervisors are in charge of some of the social and health issues in this county. And I'm going to say that again. Oakland elected officials, whether it be council members or mayor, they're not entirely responsible for all the homeless issues here in Oakland. Alameda County Board of Supervisors, you are going to be held to task by the Black Business Roundtable, and we are going to start identifying you. This is your opportunity to move this county forward, to change that image that we have in Oakland, specifically as it relates to the homeless population. Let me cite some statistics. Over 70% of homeless people here in Oakland, California are Black, African American. And over 50% of that number is senior citizens. Shameful. What the heck are you guys doing out there? What are you doing? And such that I am fair, I'm giving you the opportunity to get in touch with this show and come on and tell our audience, what is your plan? How do you plan to address that? What is your plan and how do you plan to address that? We have 3 Alameda County Board of Supervisors who have territories here in Oakland, California. And let me say that again. We have 3 Alameda County Board of Supervisors who have part of their territory, part of their district is here in Oakland, California. You can make a difference in the quality of life, and not just for the homeless, but for the people who work every day. It decreases the value of property when you have tents, when you have RVs, when you have crime and grime as a result of homelessness. I challenge you here today. I humbly ask that you pick up your pencil and paper, walk out here through Oakland, through some of the most devastated, some of the most horrific areas in Oakland. By the Oakland Coliseum, it looks like a third world country. I was driving just a half hour ago, not making an hour ago, and when you drive by the Oakland Coliseum, it is terrible. How can we do a better job? And I say we because we elected you. We elected you. So how can we do a better job? How can we have the type of homeless population of Alameda County, or excuse me, the city of Alameda, the city of San Leandro, Hayward, Berkeley, El Cerrito, Dublin, Livermore, Fremont? You have to say to yourself when you drive by and you drive through Oakland, and if you don't drive by and drive through Oakland, then that is shameful. Because if this is your district, you should be checking in on what's going on. What kind of programs and federal dollars can you get to assist in addressing this homeless population? It behooves me to not identify and not to justify, but to bring to your attention the concerns of the many homeowners who live here whose property value are steady diminishing. And sometimes I wonder, does it have something to do with gentrification? Because I guarantee you, when the complexity of this city changes, so will the homeless population. And now we're going to do a quick break and identify some of the outstanding shows that we have here on the BlackUSA.News podcast network. First, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Donnie Glover. Please be sure to check out BlackUSA.News and be sure to tune in to Chap and Friends on Monday, Party Marty, Let's Talk on Tuesday, Black USA Crypto News with my brother, Kamal Hubbard, on Friday, as he knows all about blockchain and cryptocurrency. On Saturday, The Blackout, live from New York with my sister, Tajmir. On Sundays, 60 Minutes in Black USA with my brother, Michael Haney. To join our Black Business Roundtable advertising family, be sure to send us an email at Black Business Roundtable, and our email address is BBRT2021 at hotmail.com. hotmail.com. And once again, to be a possible guest on the show and on this show is one of the number one shows on blackusa.news. Reach us via our email, and that's at bbrt2021@hotmail.com. Include your company name, address, website, company number, and social media page information to our email address. And once again, that's bbrt2021@hotmail.com for vetting consideration. We have a network of shows hosted by Donnie Glover, such as blackusa.news morning show, the Donnie Glover Show, Shared Space, Frontline News, Troy Rawlings Show, The Beverly Smith Show, and stay tuned as new shows are being added every day. We run 7 days a week now. And audience, there's nothing like hearing people who look like you and I tell us what's actually going on in our country. Because if you don't get all the news, how can you make an informed decision? Also, we want to continue to ask for your social media support and share these hashtags. Stop School Bullying, Crane County TX 2022. And the TX is for Texas. Next, Driving While Black with Michael Thrash, Taylor County, Texas. And once again, TX is Texas. Driving While Black, Michael Thrash, Taylor County, TX. Attach our podcast link from October 14th, 2021, listed once again in today's podcast description. For Michael Thrash's story, take action in your social media. Click the hashtag and tag us too, because we want to make sure that we're getting this brother all the exposure that he needs down there. When you have police running wild out there, running amok, this is what happened. And they came on, they being his attorney, came on and identified exactly what's going on there in Texas. Took a man's hard-earned money and just ran off with it. But to that end, I'm going to relax and I'm going to reintroduce the woman of the hour, the woman of the day. And I have to be truly honest here, audience. We have had many guests on this show. And to be fair, if you're listening, mayor candidates running in Oakland, California, whether it be Treva Reeves, Lauren Taylor, Greg Hodge, Derek So, Shang Tao, and Shang Tao has got in touch with me. She is going to be on the show more likely in October. Or the other candidates who are running. I want to be fair to you and ask, give me a call. You have my number, and let's get you on the show. But without further ado, her bio, Allyssa currently works as a criminal justice attorney with the American Civil Liberties Union of Northern California and is legal counsel to Communication Workers of America, Local 9415. She's a union member and elected bargaining committee member with IFPTE Science and Engineers, Local 20. Allyssa maintains her commitment to serving the most vulnerable. And once again, serving the most vulnerable. Our current elected officials, you may be able to learn something from this sister today. The most vulnerable. That's a key word. And I'm emphasizing that because we don't have elected officials who are doing that right now. Through her daily work as well as through her immeasurable volunteerism and community organizing. Allyssa is an alumna of Emerge California's 2020 Candidates Turning Cohort. In 2020, Allyssa was elected by the public and elected by the public as a Alameda Democratic elected member delegate at the California Democratic Party to represent Assembly District 18, which includes Oakland, Alameda, and Emeryville. Allyssa currently resides in District 2 with her husband and their dogs. So you've had two introductions here, Allyssa. I got ahead of myself, but I was so excited because we've asked other elected officials to come onto the show. And I don't know if they're scared or they know I'm going to ask the tough question. What is your plan to resolve the issues that are plaguing Oakland, whether it be homelessness, the lack of opportunity for businesses? As we know, a disparity study continuously shows that out of over $500 million, 0.32% goes to African-American businesses and Black women-owned businesses. And audience, so that we are clear here, the dollar figure on that comes out to $1.4 million. Shameful. Shameful. Allyssa, welcome back to the show. How are you today? Allyssa Esquire. Allyssa Victory Esquire.
No need to put the Esquire on it. It's great to be back on this amazing podcast. It's great to be back with you, who do so much great work in our community, regionally, not just in the city of Oakland. So I'm just happy to be back in conversation, back to share some exciting updates about my race. Last time I was here, it was bittersweet. It was, some negative things I was dealing with. It was a lot of barriers that have been put up in this race, and I'm just glad to share that I've overcome some of the greatest so far.
Well, Allyssa Victory, the reason why I use Esquire, because without your legal background, you could have been, as our Mayor Libby Schaaf, hopefully, I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to hold back on that.
She's about to be turned out. Focus on the next mayor.
You could have been shafted. So I'm glad that you had the Esquire behind your name and did the research to identify, and which you're going to go into at great length to our audience. And once again, take as much time as you need. And other mayoral candidates running for Oakland, if you come on to the show, I will give you time to the same amount of time to tell my audience, who is not just here in Oakland and Alameda County, in the state of California, and in the United States, but in several countries all across this world. Tell our audience, how are you going to address the many issues that plague the quality of life for your constituents? Allyssa, please continue our conversation from last week with the full story, exclusive, only here, first on the Black Business Roundtable, blackusa.news. Business. I am just eager for you to let our audience know what is going on here and how this all started and how resolution was achieved. And I'm going to say it again, Allyssa Victory Esquire. Thank you. Allyssa, we have a little delay time on your side, so we're going to let you work that out. Okay. Well, let me tell you what I do know about how she worked it out. Until she comes back on, I'm going to explain to you. With Allyssa Victory's background and knowing and understanding the law, she researched each and every document that was submitted to the city clerk and validated that each and every form had complied with what the city charter and ordinance and rules and regulations are. She not only did it for herself, she did it for other members of this city who were constituents, members, residents of this city who are running for mayor. This is the type of selflessness that we need from our politician, our elected politician. Because at the end of the day, whoever is elected, then we need to come together and unite as one. Republicans right now, and I'll use the Trump situation to be clear here. On June 6th, and we discussed this last week, it was clear that this country is divided in three ways. You got the Democrats, you got the Republicans, and you got the Trumpsters. What the heck is going on in a country to where one man, and his history speaks for itself, one man can take a group of people and have them storm the Capitol of the United States? Oh, there we go. She's back. I was keeping a minute.
Okay. Is my video okay?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Can you hear me okay? Can you see me
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
I apologize. I'm dealing with the tech age.
You know what? The podcast, and that's the wonderful thing that I'm glad I have 2-hour show, because no matter what the technical difficulties are, we're going to get your story out when you come on this show. So I'm going to ask the question again. Allyssa Victory, Esquire, please continue our conversation from last week with the full story, exclusive, only here first on the Black Business Roundtable, and how this all started and how resolution was achieved by your hard work to seek fair election as we move forward. Thank you. And I'm going to put it on mute. Light it up, sister.
Thank you. Last time I was here for a short segment and updated you all that I was technically disqualified from the ballot, was fighting an uphill battle just to be placed as my name as a candidate, so that people would have the option to vote for me out of the 9 other candidates that are running in this race. I've been running this campaign for over 10 months and was looking at having to suspend everything just to fight the city. And if I wasn't successful, would have to end my campaign. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to ask you a couple questions before you get in depth, because these are questions that my audience has to know. Why are they opposing you and other candidates? So it's 4 questions. Then I'm going to just back up, and I might even take the camera off because I want you to tell your full story. First question: has anything like this ever happened in the past Oakland elections for mayor of any other election in Oakland?
I believe there have been clerical errors. There have been people who were essentially not able to run and off the ballot if their filings weren't sufficient, if they didn't have time to fix them. There's definitely been lawsuits and litigation in past elections to challenge issues and try to get people on the ballot who were disqualified after their filing. So this has happened before, but this year was pretty unique in every single candidate for mayor being told misinformation, incorrect information, or information that was changed at the last second. 6 candidates including myself, were prejudiced and having our filing appointments canceled and having to scramble due to the last minute change. So I think this is not an issue that we haven't seen before, but I think just the magnitude, the fact that it infected an entire race and all candidates in it, and now 3 are off the ballot due to this issue. I think this is a historic issue that is a bit unprecedented for how many candidates and campaigns it has touched.
Fair elections, America. Fair elections, California. Fair elections, Alameda County. Fair elections is all we ask for in Oakland, California. The next question: has the person, entity, or office faced any consequences by the loss of momentum faced by your campaign by having to stop your campaign efforts to deal with this injustice? And if so, what were the consequences if not, and why not? Thank you.
Short answer is no. This is city offices. These are including the city attorney that I was calling on to give a legal opinion and make a final decision on what our city law says, what my rights are, what the clerk's office has to do in response to their errors. The clerk's office had admitted over the last 2 weeks that they made an error, that they told all candidates this, but that the deadline error was out of their hands and they just apologized, kind of more generally. To my particular issue, they have made a press statement from the city Monday of this week, just clarifying that I have been qualified for the ballot due to my endorser signatures, that other candidates are not going to be placed back on the ballot. And there was not really any apology and not necessarily accountability, but at least admission of what really happened and of the truth. That's a starting place, but I don't think enough has been done yet to rectify the issues, certainly not to my campaign, but to, again, the other candidates that were put off of this ballot, right? There is not complete justice by me being restored to the ballot because so many others lost out on the chance to even be represented on the ballot, to have people have a chance, the option to consider them for this November's election. And so there hasn't been complete justice or accountability. I'm still hoping there'll be a full investigation into what happened, who all was involved, and how we can prevent this from occurring ever again in our city elections. That is what I'm hoping from our city as well as from our state elections office.
Just before the last question, you got 2 more to go, and then I'm gonna back it up. But
Okay.
And I know you're gonna answer these questions in your bigger platform here as we complete this. What type of spotlight has now been placed on the Oakland mayor's race, in your view, due to this election debacle?
I think a lot more attention has actually been placed on me. I was kind of negative attention of, oh, you're out the race, you're one of these candidates that got caught up in the issue. But then it, became a really comeback story of I was able to fight my way back onto the ballot. So I've kind of used some of the negative things that were happening over the last few weeks to still tell my story, tell people why I'm running and why I'm even fighting this illegal disqualification, and have now helped to show people that I understand how our city works, that our city was wrong and was doing something that could have cost them, me as a candidate, to even have the option to vote for me or to continue to hear my voice along this campaign trail. So I think that there is going to be a shift in attention now that the candidates are confirmed, now that we know who's going to be on the ballot, what the ballot order is, but also knowing that I am really a candidate that's running to be a public servant and was unapologetic in forums and in debates and was running not on the status quo and was very different from a lot of other people who are in this race against me. And so I think the public continues to need to hear that, but there will be just different attention now that I can continue in this race and continue to push those issues, represent different voices and communities that aren't usually talked about in political debates or on the political stage.
Girl, you had me at hello. And last question before I turn it over to you. And once again, audience, I'm going to be humble. And before I ask you this last question, some of the favorites, and when I say favorites, some of the people who have big backers, financial backers, they didn't debacle their paperwork, did they? You don't even have to answer that. You don't even have to answer that. No, they didn't. Last question. What are your next moves in your campaign, and how can people support your campaign? And then after you answer that, I'm going on mute right now, so you can take it away and take as long as you need to let our audience know. So if they have this, not only here in Oakland and in Alameda County and in the state of California, but all across this nation, lay it out for them and how you fought for fair election and fair opportunity to run for an elected office in the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you. To your question of what I'm doing next, we're unsuspended immediately, and we're re-kicking off everything that we had already been starting, everything that we had been doing since we launched last fall. We've been talking to youth, we've been talking to different workers, we've been talking to different community organizations, we've been serving in the streets with people doing food distribution, clothing distribution. We've been registering people to vote and educating them about this election. We've been having house parties and knocking doors and doing regular phone and text banking. And we're doing all of those things and bringing them back times 10 because we only got 2 months. Mail ballots drop in 1 month. And so we have to, again, let people know that I'm on the ballot, that they have the option and opportunity to vote for victory, for a true people's champion and someone who's running to be a public servant. We have to also raise money to make sure we can get out as much materials, as much people to help support us in those next 2 months. So we need you all, if you have a platform like this one, to invite us to come and meet others. If you live in Oakland, host us in your neighborhood, block parties, house parties, yard parties, whatever we need to do. If you have any time between now and November 8th, whether or not you live in the city, you can contribute to our volunteer efforts of contacting voters through text, through phone calls, or door knocking. We need all hands on deck, and this is a people-powered campaign. You can sign up and check off which one of those interests you at victoryforoakland.com. You can also follow us. That's one of the easiest things to do to support us is follow our social media pages. Follow us, like us, repost us, share our pages with others, especially people who are in Oakland. We're at Victory for Oakland on all social media platforms. My Facebook page is Allyssa Victory for Oakland Mayor 2022. Please connect with us if you have creative ideas, as I'm always open to learning and expanding our platform for justice for this city. So those are some of our next steps, as I'm going to get back to what I was doing. I had to take a pause, and that really hurt me to not be able to talk to residents about this election, instead have to fight with the city over what the law is. So I'm getting back to what I do best, and that's talking to and serving the residents of this community. Oh, you're on mute, Doug.
Girl, you're talking so good, I had to shut myself down. I want to give you something to think about before you take over. And I want, as Donnie says, I want you to light up social media audience, not just here in Oakland, not just here in Alameda County, and not just here in California. Audience all across the world. Send text, email to the City of Oakland City Clerk's office, to the Mayor's office, to the City Council. This is the type of shenanigans that go on in third world countries. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Oakland. Shame, shame, shame. Now, last but not least, this is something that's for you personally, Allyssa. You know we have a new sheriff in town.
Yes, we do.
And her name is Yasina Sanchez.
Yesenia Sanchez.
Yasina. Okay.
Yesenia.
Yasina. That's what I love about you. And let me tell you, if I'm wrong, I don't mind to be corrected, to be right. But this young lady, she had $20,000 in her budget. Sheriff Emperor Greg Ahern had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And look who won. Take it away, Allyssa Victory, Esquire. Thank you for coming on the show today. Light it up.
Thanks for that important reminder that we will have new electeds in a lot of seats, and there's many other critical seats that will be open that will see new electeds this fall, not just the mayors in Oakland. But my particular story over the last 2 weeks is having to fight to defend democracy, to defend fair elections for this November, and to defend my own right to be a candidate on this ballot. I am very grateful to be a civil rights attorney, to know how to read our city law, our city charter, our state law, to know how to press on the attorneys who can advise what the correct response and resolution is. But it was hard fought. And I want to be able to share some of the details because it is a bit nuanced and the law is not always accessible to everyday people. And so I want you all to really understand what's happened and to ask me even more questions if it still doesn't make sense. But essentially, I had pulled my paperwork just like all other mayor candidates around July. We were told that the deadline to file those paperwork by the city clerk was going to be Wednesday, August 17th. Every single candidate in the mayor's race was told that when we got our filings, was reiterated each time people checked in when we scheduled our filing appointments. My own appointment was scheduled for Monday the 15th. 5 other candidates had appointments scheduled for that day or later. We were repeatedly reminded that our deadline was the 17th. However, on August 12th, I received a call around 2 p.m. I was in the middle of work at my union hall, and I was told that I only had a few hours to rush to City Hall to file my paperwork, that the deadline had been reinterpreted, and we were given misinformation. That all the clerk could do was allow us to file, even if we got there at 5 and had to stay later. So I scrambled, I rushed, I called whoever I could, whoever was available. Most people were at work, were in the middle of childcare, weren't able to pick up the phone at all. And so I kicked it into high gear, had to go home to get paperwork that I had already collected and filled out. Had to meet with my whole team and assemble whoever we could. It was not at all what we had planned for our filing appointment. That was going to be the following Monday. But we made it to City Hall before 5. We had all of our required paperwork with us. We waited behind other candidates. There were candidates behind us. All of us were scrambling to get there and to comply the best that we could. All of us. And I filed all of my required paperwork, took my oath of office, and had even a photo shoot in front of City Hall monuments, in front of our mayor's office, with the people who were able to assemble to support me at that really historic moment. Having again campaigned for almost 10 months to be able to file official paperwork to appear on this ballot was a huge moment for me and for our city. I wanted to celebrate it. I was very happy. And then Monday, in the evening around 4 p.m., I got an email from our city clerk's office with one sentence statement saying that my signatures were insufficient. I couldn't figure out any more information until the next day when I had to walk into the office and talk to someone physically to explain what was insufficient. Could they show me? Could they show me the law that says this is insufficient? I was told that I was short 2 endorser signatures. And I want to be very clear because this is where the legal issue comes in. Our city requires 50 nomination petition signatures from Oakland voters. I submitted 100. All of those nomination petition signatures, the minimum of 50, were found sufficient by the city clerk. But Oakland also requires a separate type of signature, which is called endorser or sponsor signatures. They only have to be residents of Oakland. They're included in a separate part of our city code, and again, only require that you be residents of the city. This is different from requiring you be a registered voter because it allows non-voters, non-citizens, and other people to be represented on this public ballot and on the ballot statements and guides that go out to all of the voters of this community. It's a very important representation tool that our city has built in addition to those petition signatures. I submitted 11, and we had to have a minimum of 10. I was told that my endorser signatures, 2 of them were deficient because they weren't registered voters. I wasn't allowed to dispute. I wasn't allowed to even correct them and get more and additional signatures. I wasn't allowed to really challenge my disqualification on this minor basis that ended up being illegal, that was not supported by our city law. When I got the final confirmation, talking with the clerk's office that day, that I was disqualified, that they were not going to take any steps to remedy it, that they weren't going to abide by the original deadline of the 17th, that there was nothing I could do but seek legal recourse. But going to the courts isn't my first step as an attorney, especially if there's no dispute. And so I looked up the law. I looked up the city codes. I looked back at the difference between the 2 signatures, the 2 types of signatures, and realized there is a requirement being applied that doesn't exist. My endorsers don't have to be registered voters, so I can't be disqualified on that basis. I submitted a full written statement to our city attorney's office. I had already been preparing to get their legal opinion on other issues, because when I filed my paperwork on Friday the 12th, the clerk's office told me that I could not use my Victory last name. They said I had to submit an additional legal declaration and explain why I should be able to use both last names, Victory Villanueva. So I was already preparing to request the city attorney's review and opinion about those filings and about why I was even required to submit additional explanation of my name. I also included the filing issue in my illegal disqualification. The city attorney's office did respond after some time, but their response was very simple, that this was a matter of state law and they had no control. But I fought back and I said, no, this is a part of our city codes. These endorser signatures are nowhere in our state elections code. This is only in our Oakland municipal code. I said, our city needs to weigh in because this is specific to us. I said, I also need to know if I'm able to use my name on the ballot as I've requested it. I need to know that for any election that I run in, on what my right is to use this name. After much delay, I decided I needed to seek a higher opinion. And so I filed a Secretary of State elections complaint with our state office. I spoke with their attorneys, with our Secretary of State, Dr. Weber herself, who helped me just look at the details of the signature issue I had presented, who agreed that this was unique to Oakland, that this wasn't something they had ever seen before or had dealt with as being state elections officials. And so I continued to press on our city. And I continued to press. And I wasn't sure if I would hear any further response. I wasn't sure if it would be in time before ballots were printed by the county. So I started to talk to the press. I started to talk to you all. I started to talk to my endorsers and my supporters who wanted to figure out some way to take action. And they did. They helped make calls to our city attorney's office saying Allyssa should be able to run. She should be qualified. Let Allyssa run. I'm grateful to the organizations that started petitions, that started that call to action, that sent out emails and social media posts and text blasts, but also to the many electeds from our city to our regional levels that contacted me personally to understand the issue and how they could best support, who also made contact to the Secretary of State's office, to our city attorney's office to help move forward justice. I was also talking with many civil rights attorneys in my network who were helping me with legal research, who were helping me confirm that I was right, that I understood our city law and our city codes, that I understood my election rights, who were advising me on what strategies and what next steps we should take. And I'll be honest, many of them didn't believe we would get any response. Many of them said the only way you will see your name on that ballot is if you sue the city. Lawsuits can take time. They can take a lot of money. They can take a lot of just energy. I've already had to stop most of my campaigning activities just to negotiate with the city. I'd have to take even more time from my job, from my family, to mount a court strategy. I again wanted a response from the city on whether or not they even disagreed. Lawsuits in the court should be for disagreements, not when both sides agree what the law is. And finally, after public campaigns, after informal contact, after formal written disputes, after all of these elected supporters speaking out on my behalf, even my fellow opponents in this race, speaking out saying that I should be on this ballot and there should be fair elections in this city, I received a call Friday evening from our city attorney saying that they agreed. That they did not dispute the law on the endorser signatures, that they only needed to verify that these were residents of our city, not necessarily registered voters of our city. I was able to do that. They agreed. I received confirmation from the city clerk this past Monday, the 29th, that I was qualified, that I will appear on the ballot. The next day, on Tuesday morning, we held a new ballot draw to determine the new order. I'll be lucky number 7 on this public ballot. If it were not for your podcast, for residents like you, for democratic leaders, for people who love truth and justice, speaking up, contacting the city, contacting our attorneys, our electeds, anyone in the executive branch, it all helped move justice forward. I'm still clear that this is not a completely justified response. 3 other candidates are off of this ballot because of the filing deadline issues. They either didn't have sufficient filings or weren't able to file at all. All of them identify as Black and as Asian. Some of them identify as homeless, right? These are people that are reflecting the communities and the very issues that need to be addressed in this next election, this next term of mayor. I'm running in their honor and their spirit. I believe one of them may mount a write-in campaign because he's been determined. We all have to serve the city and this community. I supported all of their claims to be restored to the ballot, to have a fair and equitable resolution to the deadline issue for all of the candidates affected, not just myself. And I'm clear that still hasn't been done. There still, again, hasn't been a full investigation of who all was involved, how this happened, why it happened, and what our city can commit to doing so that this never happens again. We need more transparency in our city hall. We need more transparency, definitely in the executive branch, which is run by our mayor and our city administrator. We need accountability to our laws, to our civil rights. If we want this to be a fair election and for all of us to have a fair chance to elect a real justice champion, then we have to make sure that we are defending democracy and following our own law about elections in the city. I see you trying to stop me and jump in. Go ahead.
No, who isn't? You said who's in our executive branch of the city of Oakland?
The city clerk's office is controlled by our executive branch. The head of our executive branch is the mayor, controlled through our city administrator, who runs a lot of the day-to-day for our different departments in our offices. Right, so this is a taxpayer-funded office. This is part of the services of fairness, of elections, of democracy, of education, and providing adequate information to candidates to be able to equally participate in this election season. These are all things that I'm committed to doing as mayor. These are reasons that propelled me into this race, is the dysfunction in our city, the low quality of services, the confusion and chaos that many people experience, and often the hurt and illegal behavior that many Oaklanders have experienced with our city, even trying to run for office and trying to serve our residents.
The floor is still yours because let me say this, audience, let me say this. This is the type of non-transparency, the type of theatrics that career politicians use so that hardworking citizens who want to serve their city, their county, their state, serve the United States are denied because they want to hold on to that power. But Allyssa, it's yours because I'm listening to you. I need some popcorn because I am learning so much here today. Go ahead, continue on, sister. Continue on.
Yes. And so when I got the call and the verbal confirmation on Friday, I, prepared everything, scrambled over the weekend to make an announcement, again, to let the public know what was happening, to give updates to the press, to my supporters. There's many people who are like, we want to endorse you, but we're not sure if you're a candidate. All right, it held a lot of things in limbo, and our whole community that's focused and paying attention to this election right now. We're like, what's going to happen? Like, this can't be real. It was shocking. And so I scheduled a press conference for Monday at 12 on the steps of City Hall. I invited all of the different press who had covered me being off of the ballot to now understand that I was able to fight my way back, that I had to fight and show my skills and expertise in government law right now on this campaign trail before I'm even elected as mayor, that I had to do that to defend our democracy because there are people who benefit from me being off of this ballot. There are people who, again, benefit from my voice being out of this race, for me no longer being the conscience on stage who's giving facts, who's giving real data, who's giving the law, right? Who's reminding us that we have an obligation as a city to preserve and protect people's constitutional rights, people's civil rights, right? It would have been unfair even to the city for me to sue over an issue that we didn't disagree on. Again, litigation is expensive, not just for me, but also for the city. Our tax dollars pay for that. They pay for those attorneys' time, right? They pay for that work. And that work means they're not focused on another legal issue that they need to defend or to prosecute, right? So we don't need to expose ourselves as a city unnecessarily to liability, to litigation, to having other people come in and tell us how to run our city and how to do justice under our own laws, right? Under our own charter, our own city code. And so I am an expert in our city. I've even worked in our city attorney's office, right? I was trained by some of these very people, right? And I'm trying to, again, run to administer better, stronger, high quality services from our executive branch, to have more transparency and efficiency, especially in something as fundamental as our elections, right? Who gets to be the next generation of leadership? It should be open. It should be fair. That's what our democracy means. I even support different measures that are going to be on the ballot with me, including our Democracy Dollars campaign. That's about shifting us to public campaign financing, campaign finance reform. You mentioned the sheriff, right? Having been out fundraised, outspent, and still being the new sheriff-elect. That money doesn't win elections, but money can have a nasty influence. It can cloud reality. It can cloud truth. It can elevate candidates over others that are genuine and that are running without money, that are running without money as a goal or as an objective. And so I support some of those other measures that will be on your ballot this November, along with candidates. Like I said, there's a lot that's at stake in this November election. There's a lot that can change in terms of who's going to represent us, what the makeup of our council is going to be, of our board of supervisors, our district attorney. We already know that we have our first Latina sheriff coming into office, but we will have a new district attorney. We will have a new Black district attorney, as both candidates in the November race are Black, right? There is going to be a shift, but it can shift in some worse ways where we see problems like homelessness be exacerbated. where we see our climate crisis get worse. We're facing all of our fish and wildlife dying right now in Lake Merritt. Right now, we're in a heat wave. I don't know if I can hear the fan. I got like 3 in my office because there's a heat wave in California expected over the next 5 days. Right? We've already seen fires now pop up in SoCal due to these heat waves. We're in crises across our state. We need real leadership, more than just people who speak about values, but who can act, who can respond quickly to the moment, who again is going to speak truth even when it's my own city that is trying to lock me out from leading in this city. Even if I have to set the record straight, if I have to embarrass them publicly to let them know what you're doing is not lawful. You are incorrect. Again, I respect our staff. I have nothing but good faith in them. We need to increase our staff, really fully resource their departments and their offices so they can deliver higher quality services. So they're not stressed and burnt out and confused about how to administer some of these most fundamental services of our city. Again, this is a really critical election. This is an open seat for mayor, which is why it's even more important that we have fairness of who's able to run. This is an open seat, meaning we have to elect somebody new because our current mayor is termed out. This is also ranked choice elections, meaning every Oakland voter gets 3 votes for who they want for mayor. It's very important with 9 other candidates in this race that people have options, people have choice. Go ahead.
Can you explain to our audience what exactly does ranked choice voting mean? Thank you.
So most races traditionally have a primary and then a runoff, where you'll see any amount of candidates be able to be in the primary, and then only the top 2 will go to a runoff. However, if one of those candidates in the primary gets 50% plus 1 of the vote, then they take it and there's no runoff. Instead of Oakland having the primary and the runoff election, we just have one general election in November, where all candidates are listed on the ballot. And so there's not going to be any top 2 who get the highest percentage. It's whoever gets 50% plus 1. But since there's at least 10 candidates in my race, multiple candidates in many other races, it's not likely that one of us will secure 50% plus 1 with just everybody voting once. And so ranked choice allows each voter to vote for 3 people on their ballots. And ranked choice, once all of the ballots are counted, the lowest votes, those candidates drop off and their votes are redistributed based on who was their 2s or their 3s for those voters. So it can get a bit complicated based on how many candidates there are. Sometimes these ranked choice cuts and redistribution of votes can go on for 10, 20 different cycles before there's a final. But it'll keep going until one candidate has reached 50% plus 1 of all the votes cast in the election. Ranked choice voting started in Oakland back in 2010 election cycle. That was also the first cycle where we elected our first Asian woman, first Asian woman mayor, Jean Quan. She was outspent, out fundraised around 5-1. And so ranked choice by advocates who help push different models of legislation in different cities to adopt this voting system have championed it as a way to allow candidates who are more progressive, who are more underdog in terms of their financial resources or their name recognition, to have a fighting chance, to be able to coalesce, with other candidates, to build even slates, right, of a ranked of 1, 2, 3, vote for these 3 people, and knowing that there can be a group of people with the same platform, the same values, and if all of them run together, they have a better chance of one of them being elected. It again allows for you to just have agreements to rank with other candidates so that you can get to those votes just by the rank cuts. It also allows you to partner on the campaign trail, which is something that's very important for me to do. That these issues are not in silos. They're not separate from the DA's race or the sheriff's race or the school board races. So to be able to run and to talk in partnership with candidates in my race, but also in other races, is really important for how I'm running the race, not just once I'm in office or how I want the votes to count out. And so ranked choice voting is very interesting, but it has been around in Oakland for around 12 years. We have seen it help us to elect more women, people of color, people who may not have the highest dollar amounts raised in the election.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
How important is it to take all three of your choices? Can you let our audience, because some people go, well, I'll just vote Allyssa 1, 2, and 3. How important? Well, first off, that's the first question. If they vote you 1, 2, and 3, explain that. And then the second part of that question is how important it is to check every box, even if they don't like you and they like someone else, but to pick you as their second choice and or the third choice. So explain to our audience that, because this audience, this lady should be a election professor, because you're breaking it down, sister.
Thank you. I mean, I am an associate member of our County Democratic Central Committee and elected to our Democratic Party as an ADEM delegate for this Assembly District. So, again, I spend a lot of time in volunteerism registering people to vote and educating people about their voting rights, what these different seats are. But to your question, I'm already forgetting it, so you might have to repeat it. I just want to make sure I answer it fully. Oh, you're on mute.
Girl, you see I got my pen up, I'm taking notes, and so when I'm looking down, I'm writing. Okay, two questions. The first question, I have a few more because, okay, audience, this is a learning experience. What happened to her is what happens in third world countries. Somebody doesn't like you, and I'm not saying it was purposely done or not, but the favorites were not kicked out, were not debacled. So it begs me to differ. What is going on here? The first question, how important is it to take all three choices? So if they don't like you as their first choice, they can pick you as the second choice. And second question is, how important is it to not just say Allyssa victory, Allyssa victory, Allyssa victory, but say Allyssa victory, I may not like you to be my first choice, but I think you'll be my second choice. Or Allyssa victory, I may not like you to be my second choice, I like to be my third choice. Can you explain to our audience that, please? And I want you to break it down, because I've heard some people, well, I'll just pick all three. You're still, anyway, go ahead and let us figure it out. Tell us how that works. Thank you.
Sorry, I just want to make sure you can still see me and hear me, because it's freezing a bit on my end.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, then I'll keep going. For ranked choice, I'm going to be real. I'm not going to tell you to just vote for someone in all three spots just to vote. Right? If you really have three candidates that you like, then you should use all three votes. You should vote your values. You should vote which candidates you think have the best platforms. I don't believe you're ever going to find candidates that you 100% agree with, but who you think will be able to work with you, best represent you, will be best for our city. And you have 3 chances out of 10 different candidates. So I am asking to be number 1. But if people have other candidates that they're already 100% behind, then I would like to be your number 2. If you have 2 candidates that you're 100% behind, then put me as your number 3, right? So whichever ranking makes sense for you, for your values, I still want to be in one of your top 3s. And I am asking for number 1s, but I also, again, don't believe that any candidate in this race is going to just win with the first count of votes. And I think the rankings and strategies of voters may be all over the place. They like different groupings of all of us. Different groupings of us have been invited to every candidate forum or debate. And so, again, we have a lot of differences in what we're saying and where we come from, our experiences, but also the expertise we bring to this seat. right? I respect all of my candidates, but we all bring different things. And so I really encourage people to use these 2 months to understand who is running and to use your vote in the way that is most valuable to you. If you only want to vote for me, then please just vote for me. You can leave the others blank. You can write myself in, and it kind of is the same either way. But again, if there's no other candidates that you really like, I can't force you to vote for anyone, and I wouldn't recommend that you just mark off somebody, but know that we will have a new mayor. So truly think about all the 10 candidates, and if there are others in addition to myself that you would like to see lead, have some policies that will help you and serve you, or that you can at least work with them to negotiate better policy and better services. And what was your second question, Doug?
The second question was, I think you answered, how important is it to take all three choices, and what happens?
Sorry, my computer is freezing a bit. If y'all can see me.
There you go. Yeah. So I think you answered that, because the first question was, how important is it to take all three choices? And then the second question is, what happens if they put Allyssa victory, Allyssa victory, Allyssa victory?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, just again reminding people this is also mail-in ballots. So really around October 10th is when you should start to get your ballots in the mail. And before that, you should be receiving your ballot guides, which are county-based that include all races in the county, as well as ballot measures that are separate from candidates running for offices. So that's a great way to also just see who else is running, see what the differences are in people's backgrounds or where their support is coming from. So you can familiarize yourself before you actually get that ballot in your hand. But one of the best ways is to return it early once you get it in October, not let it go in the recycling or have to go into the polls in person on November 8th. But again, I just want to remind people that we have open school board seats, we have open council seats, we have an open supervisor seat, and we're going to have an open DA's race. The DA's seat is open with the incumbent not running. So we are going to have new leadership in so many different positions that touch on services around public safety, education, right, economic justice, and service to our city and its residents. Any other questions for our last 10 minutes?
Okay. And how did that make you feel when you got that phone call? How did that make you feel? And you've been out here running for about a year or more. How did that make you feel? And how did you keep yourself motivated and just say, you know what, this is not even worth it? So those two questions. How did you feel? And how did you pick yourself up and say, you know what, I'm not going to let them win, and they mess with the wrong system? Go ahead.
And we should start with these questions. I felt vindicated. I felt relieved when I was told that the city agreed that I was right on the law. I felt like I had done a lot of work. I felt exhausted. It felt like I'd been fighting for months, even though it was 2 weeks. But I felt, again, just overjoyed. I felt like I'm right, and I get to tell everybody that I was right, even people who doubted me, people who were in my corner, but who said, this isn't going to happen the way you think it is, right? People who were hesitant to jump in and support me because they're like, well, you're not a candidate now. And so being able to prove the city wrong, to prove myself right and my campaign right, to again show that I am the government attorney and expert that I've been telling people, that I'm able to show it to you all now, what that really looks like, what that means, and how critical these skills are when crises, when emergencies happen. I stayed in the fight really through just people power, right? People who kept reaching out. My phone was like dead the whole day. I had to stay on the charger talking because so many people were calling me. So many people were texting me. Some just sending me encouragement, saying, we see what's happening. This isn't right. Let us know what you need. We know you're going to fight it. We know you're correct. So other people believing in me, even when I was doubting myself. Other people wanting to add more fuel to the fire when I was like, maybe we should just let it go and drop it. Or other people coming to me with creative ideas of, let's still promote this way. Let's still publicize the issue. Other candidates, right, coming out was so special. Like, they all technically benefit by me not being in this race, by me being off the ballot, not being in our forums, not seeking endorsement. But almost all of them reached out to me personally to ask how I was doing, how they could support, made public statements, or did contact the city directly to get a response. And so that was huge to just show that unity, that even my opponents in this race could coalesce around me, could offer me their resources, their contacts, their wisdom and advice. But it also brought me closer to many others in the city who felt wronged by the city. People who had said they'd ran before and similar issues happened. People who said they wished they had had the money or had an attorney to be able to sue. People from other counties, from other cities who are running for mayor to all other positions, who called me just saying similar things happened with my clerk. Similar things happened with my elections office. I wish that I knew. I wish that I had fought back. You're so inspiring. So again, seeing that my story was touching other people, even my story of like being wronged, my story of struggling through this issue, people saw themselves in it. They resonated with it, and they saw that I was being authentic and genuine through it all, that I truly want to serve this city, and that I wasn't losing that aspect of it, that I was going to fight as much as I could. And so many people have now supported me, donated, want to be on this team for the next 2 months, have come out in ways that I never expected. Or even other electeds behind the scenes, ones who've endorsed my opponents, again, were reaching out, just wanting this to be fair, just wanting this to be a just election. So I, again, many times was so unsure of the outcome, wasn't sure if I should continue fighting, wasn't sure of what the next step was that I should take. And it was really the people that kept me going and said, we want to see you in this. I was going to vote for you. I want to support you, knowing that people were following this closely. People were following me for the last 10 months, and that they were so shocked and disappointed. It made me want to fight, not just for myself, not just for my campaign, but for the people of Oakland, to again have a candidate that represents them, and to have the chance, a fair chance, to be able to vote for me, to continue to hear about me. And again, now I'm running for those 3 other candidates, one who may be a write-in, but still for them not being able to be on the ballot, for them having done work, preparing, trying to get their filings done the same as me, and not being able to fight back in the same ways, not having the same circumstances. But again, I'm committed to even changing things in our city once elected so that this never happens again, regardless of if it's the mayor's race or other city races, county races that we may have any role in. We have to be clear that democracy is an action, right? You have to constantly defend it, preserve it. You need to know what people's rights and what people's laws are. I have to mention that there are other fights that we're still working on, including Oakland Youth Vote, which I was a sponsor of, that was allowing our 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in the school board elections this year. Our county registrar of voters has delayed implementation by 2 years. I hope it's no longer than that, because 2 years is already too late. Justice delayed is justice denied, right? There's so many people who should be able to vote in this election who will not. There are people who should be able to run in this election who will not. And so I'm motivated always by justice. I'm motivated by love for my city, by love for our residents and our workers. I am in this race to represent all of you. And I, felt that loss on behalf of all of us while thinking of having to fully suspend. And so it was really all of your personal notes, your public messages, just your contact and your pushing on the city to help get a justified result that kept me positive, that kept me hopeful, even if it was 1% of hope. That was enough. It was enough to get us to finally hold out until we got the response that we needed from the city. It is a comeback story that I think is inspiring people even more now to know that they can fight the city and win, that they can stand on truth, that they can stand on the law, that we do know our rights, that Black women can fight and win on behalf of all of us, and that I will be honest and transparent every step of the way with the public about what is happening, what I can do, and what should be happening from our city and our electeds. So I'm again just so grateful for the chance to be able to share my story in depth and in detail with the roundtable, for you all following the story as it was developing, even talking to me, that week when it was very hard. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I wasn't sure if I was going to be back here with any positive news, with anything changed. And so I have to just stay faithful. I have to trust that I am made for this moment, that I am meant to be in this race, and I am meant to lead this city. And more, I'm being shown that, and I'm getting just even more fight in me, because it will take fight even once I'm elected, right? There's a lot of issues that we've got to tackle. It's a lot of heartbreaking problems that are happening in our city. And so just knowing that the community will embrace me, will stand up and speak up, and will also just send me some love and some compassion when I'm going through crisis was huge to see and to know that I can expect that going forward.
Well, as we wrap this up, because as you said, it's a hot, hot day. I'd like to. It was, I think it was John Maddox asked, and he's from Oakland, California. In a nutshell, what is your platform? He said, I would like to know why you want to run for mayor. I already know because I know you. And what is your platform? So, and I know you're tired because this has been a very, it had to be something that you had to dig deep to recreate. But before we wrap this interview up, and audience, once again, this is mayoral candidate for the city of Oakland, California, who wants to represent you. And once again, if there are any other mayoral candidates who want to come on this show and express to our audience what their platform is and why they could be a good servant, and that's the key word, servant. And you've already demonstrated with your resume here, your bio, you have been a good servant. And in a nutshell, let our audience who know you and the new ones who are just meeting you. What's your platform as we wrap this interview up? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Mr. Maddox. You can find out my full detailed platform and graphics and my solutions and endorsements at victoryforoakland.com. But I'm running on delivering high quality public services. My top issues are public safety, economic justice, and housing/homelessness. We're in crisis in all of these areas, as well as many others, like I mentioned, our climate issues. But the center of them is the crisis of leadership. Oakland is a wealthy city. We're the heart and soul of the East Bay and of our entire state. We're home to the 5th largest port. Our state is one of the wealthiest in the entire country. We have a lot of vacant public lands that have just sat vacant for decades, right? I've lived here my entire life. There are cyclical problems that every mayor has ran on, giving lip service while they get worse. We have the resources, we have the powers, especially from the strong mayor seat, to make actual inroads, to solve our problems, not put band-aids, not make more promises or study them. So again, I'm running to serve all of you. I'm running to represent all of you. I'm running to be the first Black woman mayor, renter mayor, union member mayor, civil rights attorney mayor, who is going to lead this city to a complete system of justice, one that includes reparative frameworks for our climate issues with the Red, Black, and Green New Deal, one that highlights our arts and culture, as we have a rich and unique history that brings people here. We need to lean into that and stop pushing our artists out. We need to develop our entire city, including East Oakland and our international airport district, not just a small sliver of downtown. I've lived in all 7 districts, even been homeless. So I don't just have the personal and professional skills to solve these issues and to lead on them, as I've been doing for the last decade or so, but I've lived them myself, and I currently live some of them. Right, I live in deep East Oakland. I'm the youngest person in this race, and I began registering people to vote, activating new voters, activating people who are Black, people who are immigrants, people who are poor and working class, people who are homeless every single day of this race. We're inspiring people to let them know what Oakland can be. We should be a world-class city where everyone can thrive, where everyone feels safe, where everyone is healthy, where everyone is housed, where everyone has equal access to economic opportunity, whether that be jobs or business development. It is possible if we get out of the status quo that's designed for failure, that's designed to use our public dollars to not have high quality service, and that's designed to produce inequity in almost every single thing that we're currently doing. I am running on change. Please join me at victoryforoakland.com. Again, contribute, elevate us if you have a space for us to join. If you're in Oakland, please bring us to your neighborhood to talk to you and your neighbors, and make sure you vote victory this November 8th.
Well, audience, as you have heard, and before we wrap this up, I'd like to say once again, Allyssa Victory, thank you for not giving up. Thank you for coming on the show today and teaching our audience what a real fighter is like. Because if you're fighting like this for yourself and for your team that's supporting you, that means you're going to be a real service to the city if you are elected. And more importantly, having a fair election is what the democratic policy of this country was founded on, a fair election.
Exactly. I remind us that our city is already democratically run, right? We have a Democratic supermajority in our state legislature and a Democratic governor. This is happening under Democratic leadership. We need more than just a Democrat, someone who's an organizer, who's a public servant, who is a civil rights leader and defender.
Audience, you heard it here on the Black Business Roundtable. Allyssa Victory, turn that fan back up. Turn this
Right, take my jacket off.
Take your jacket off. But we appreciate you coming on here and educating our audience, and not just in Oakland and Alameda County and in the state, but all across this country, what it is to be a true servant in this country and how to fight for what you believe is right. And I'd like to also put out that I've been knowing you for 5+ years. I met you on a campaign about 5 or 6 years ago, and you have evolved. I mean, you were great then, but you have evolved to be just. I mean, I'm truly impressed. This was the type of interview that that was learning and transforming to America.
Thank you. And so have you. I've watched you develop this whole media platform, develop so much more contacts, be able to elevate, right, businesses, Black business in the Bay Area. That it's just been amazing to know you the last few years, to see you on the ground, but to see you then helping tell the world what's going on right here.
Well, let me be clear here. I've gotten some threats. I've gotten some doors shoved in my face. I've seen some of the politicians who I pointed out, and they don't like me. But if you're going to be running for office, you have got to get your act together and start representing the people of this city, of this county, of the state, and of this country. Thank you, Allyssa Victory, and we look forward for you coming back on the show whenever you like. This next message goes out to all those candidates who are running for City of Oakland. We have openings in October. Oh, there she's back.
I'm so sorry again, y'all. The tech issues are real out here.
Well, audience, it's very hot out here, and I'm sure there are some technical issues going on, but you were able to get your word out. Tell your tell my audience how you fought for yourself and the people who've been standing with you for the last year, and how you will continue to fight if you are elected for the people of Oakland, California. And I want to leave you with this. New Sheriff Sanchez only had $20,000 running against a sheriff, Gregory Ahern, who had hundreds and hundreds of thousands. And he's a Republican in a Democratic county. And he wasn't ashamed to acknowledge that. So don't give up.
If you want change, it's no amount of money. Money doesn't win elections. It's people power. It's having a candidate that has real values, a real platform that meets your needs and speaks to you. All right, it's the actual contact. People hearing me, knowing that I'm real. Y'all can see my sign or see amount of money. That doesn't tell you anything about my leadership, about my skills, and about my values and integrity. I see some people have put in different questions. Please, again, send them directly to me at victoryforoakland.com, or you can post them on my socials. I'm happy to respond to you publicly or private. Some of them were about policing and our public safety issues. I'm, again, a policing attorney, so I deal with this every single day. I advise our city, our police commission, as well as cities throughout the state of California. So please read about it, but also talk to me, and I will definitely respond.
Well, as you can see, you picked up some votes here on this show today.
Thank you.
I'd like to say you have a wonderful evening, and we thank you again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to enlighten and educate our audience on your journey as a candidate to be the mayor of Oakland, California. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm truly humbled, and I'm praying for you. And I'm praying for any candidate who's going to truly come in here and make a difference in Oakland, California. So go grab you a good ice cold drink and continue moving forward. Have a good night. Thank you, Allyssa.
Have a great night. Have a great night to everyone watching. Peace.
Thank you. As you see, audience, here on the Black Business Roundtable, we just don't talk about business. We talk about politics. We talk about politics and politicians and candidates who are running to serve you. I opened this show up to all the candidates who are running for either city council, running for mayor, running for the Alameda County Board of Supervisors, running for state senate, running for United States Senate, running for Congress, United States Congress. We had Marcus Flowers, candidate in Georgia, who has come on here. Marjorie Taylor, if you want to come on, drop us in an email or a text, or send us a pigeon with a note on it. And we would love to have you come on here. And we are not biased. We want the best people to support Americans in this country. We don't want corporate cronies. We don't want people who are here to just get a check. And if the pool keeps getting thin, I might decide to run for Alameda County Board of Supervisors. To that end, announcements. Janani Ramachandran Esquire, friend of the show and running for District 4 in Oakland, California. See her new website at Janani4, and that's FOR, Oakland.com, and new Instagram at Janani, the numeral 4, Oakland. She is returning to the show with periodic updates on her campaign and also issues affecting Oakland. Can't wait to see more of Janani. And I say Janani is Janani this season on the Black Business Roundtable. Also, visit our online friends of show On Instagram, Millennium Democrats, and that's hashtag Millennium Democrats, who calls out politics and politicians. And I say trictions. Call out politics and politicians because we have some trictions out there. They do play tricks on you. They run out and get your vote, and then they trick you. Don't be tricked. Do not be tricked. Later this fall, we hope you will join us on the Black Business Roundtable. Our favorite law school student delivers his experience from a Black man's perspective on Instagram at The Mask Law Student. Once again, that's at The Mask Law Student. Hashtag The Mask Law Student or on his YouTube channel. We will continue to we will welcome back next week Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology, who helps us all check in with our feelings each week. Another railroading of a young, educated, newly rising, successful Black entrepreneur that has received a life sentence after sitting in jail for almost 3 years. Please listen to the backstory of Carlton on YouTube, and thank you, audience, for your thoughts, prayers, messages, and donations for Carlton. He was able to get an attorney to review that terrible conviction that has him behind bars for defending himself in North Carolina. Please share his hashtag Stand with Carlton of Raleigh, NC 2022. And NC stands for North Carolina. If you have or would like to send a message of encouragement to Carlton, just email us your message, which we will forward. Dr. Ashley, we miss you, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, Donnie Glover. I've reached a year as of May, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have this platform to hold our politicians accountable and uphold our Black businesses in America. Be sure to tune in to Chapin Friends on Monday. Party Marty, I like doing that. Party Marty, let's talk on Tuesday. Black USA Crypto News with Kamal Hubbard on Fridays, as he knows all about blockchain and cryptocurrency. On Saturdays, live from New York, The Blackout with my sister, Tajmir. And Sundays, 60 Minutes in Black USA with my brother, Michael Haney. To join our BBRT advertising family or to be a possible guest on the show, reach us via our email at bbrt2021@hotmail.com. Include your company name, address, website, company phone number, and social media page info to our email address, bbrt2021@hotmail.com for vetting consideration. We have a network of shows running 7 days a week, hosted by Donnie Glover, such as Black USA News Morning Show, Donnie Glover Show, Shared Space, Frontline News, Troy Rawlings Show, The Beverly Smith Show, and stay tuned as new shows are being added. We continue to ask for your social media support and share these hashtags. Hashtag Stop School Bullying Crane County TX 2022, and TX stands for Texas. Hashtag driving while black, Michael Thrash, Taylor County TX. And once again, TX is Texas. There's a lot of things going down there in Texas, and it's not good for black people. Attach our podcast link from October 14th, 2021, listed once again in today's podcast description. For Michael Thrash's story, take action on your social media, click the hashtag and tag us to the Black Business Roundtable. Once again, our hashtag is the Black Business Roundtable. And I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Eric Kelly III for winning the Lifetime Achievement Award from the President of the United States for his outstanding work with the Black Business Expo / Olympics. And I was a gold medal winner on that Olympic opportunity that I had to join with hundreds and thousands of speakers back in May of this year, 2022. Thank you for joining us for our first show of September. We return September 8th, 2022, and look forward to seeing you every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on blackusa.news network on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you, audience, for tuning in. And remember, together, we can listen, we can learn, and we can share, because I know you care. This is Doug Blacksher and Dr. Ashley Coleman returning next week on the Black Business Roundtable. God bless and good night. Thank you. We'll see you next week.